Hey there, it's Jason Stahl with another episode of Under the Radar, and I have a very special guest today from Autel. His name is Stuart Peregrine. He is the Senior Executive of ADAS Sales for Autel. Welcome, Stuart.
Thanks, Jason. Really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I like to ask all my guests this question. You know, the other day I found videos of myself talking about ADAS from 2017. It's incredible. So ADAS has been around for a while. Vehicles with ADAS has been around for a while. So I want to ask you, at this point in time, in 2024, where is the collision industry, collision shops specifically, in their learning curve on vehicle electronics, ADAS, calibration and scanning? Where do we stand? Are we still, grasping in the dark and totally clueless? Are we experts now and know what we're doing? Are we somewhere in the middle? What is your assessment of where auto body shops today stand with this technology?
Well, that's a great question, Jason. Based on what we see, there's really several different scenarios out there. It's a little bit all over the board, right? But really over the last 5 years, we're seeing more and more collision shops really embrace pre and post scanning vehicles as part of their standard work. That didn't used to be the case, even as early as 2017, right? So we're seeing that more and more. We feel that trend's is really changing due to the fact that it's essential to the repair. Shops understand that it's essential to complete a proper and safe repair. And then we also seen a major increase in our tooling during that time. So we believe that's a lot to do with our R&D department, listening to the customers on what their needs are, and developing products that really fit the bill. So, and then we've also seen a major shift from the ADAS calibration frames, really since the development of our optical systems just a couple of years ago. It's really changed the customer workflow in a very positive way. We've made things a lot easier. Technicians can now follow simple instructions and really get a quality repair, validates it into reports. So, tooling has really changed and evolved quickly to really meet that demand. So I think a lot of these things are coming together quickly, and we're seeing a major shift. It's a real positive thing.
You mentioned, Stuart, that shops, for the most part, get it now that they need to do a pre-scan and a post-scan on every vehicle that comes in. That's wonderful. However, what about calibrations? Are they understanding when they need to do a calibration and how to do it? Are they on the same plane with calibration as they are scanning?
That is a harder challenge. All the OEMs obviously have their own position statements. There's lots of resources out there that do a great job with that. We've recently partnered with the Repairify stuff, and now we have ADAS Think that really helps collision centers identify when calibration is needed, and it ties to the actual estimate and repair of the paint and body side. So it ties that whole process together, eliminates hours of work, and then you have the actual OEM documentation to back up why you need to do the repair.
Stuart, you mentioned the advances in equipment. Last year at the SEMA show, 2023, we saw an emphasis on new equipment coming out for calibrations to allow shops to do it in-house. That seemed like a big emphasis. Why are equipment manufacturers pushing shops to do it in-house? And basically that's the question. Why are they pushing this trend of allowing shops to do calibrations in-house?
Well, really it's the other way around. Collision shops, from my perspective, have a huge appetite to reduce cycle times and to meet and exceed their customer expectations. So let's face it, with the supply chain issues and shortages that we've had over the last years, it's impacted those cycle times in a negative way, right? So being able to perform ADAS calibrations in-house dramatically helps that cycle time, keeps the revenue in-house, and there's, the peace of mind of doing the job correctly the first time, and, return that vehicle back to the OEM state. you know, back when we introduced the IA 900 AST, the industry first 3-in-1 system, it incorporated really all those things that's needed from a shop perspective. It's diagnostics, it's alignment, and it's ADAS calibration all into one system. And then we introduced the Baymax lift to help bring back the space that we know every shop, you know, faces the same challenge. Having enough space to perform these calibrations is a big deal. Within that 32 by 16 space and a level playing field with the Baymax lift, now we can pull back up to 88% of all the calibrations required. So all that's changing the game. You know, very positive stuff with the advancement in technology and the product development.
Stuart, you mentioned shops' appetite for reducing cycle time and sharpening up their KPIs. Do they have the same appetite to do this electronics work? I've heard from some people that a lot of shops don't want to do this. They know they have to, and they may be doing it because they have to. But they really would rather not do this work. They'd rather focus on body work, their specialty. What is your take on that?
Well, our perspective is, you know, we've built calibration equipment, and the skills that can be taught for somebody to do ADAS calibration isn't the same as diagnostic work. So anybody that's eager to learn, who can read and follow instructions, somebody that can refrain from skipping steps, memorizing specs. That may seem crazy, but you don't memorize specs for a reason, because vehicles change from year to year. So somebody that will be, you know, not do that. That's actually you know, something that really helps that person. But when we look at reflash programming and coding radar modules, that is a different skill set. But the ADAS calibration, the way that we've really set up the tools, set up the packages, anybody that's eager and willing to learn, they can do it. And we have thousands of successful shops out there doing that today.
Stuart, you make a great point in that it's a whole different deal to be considered an ADAS technician, an electronics expert, a troubleshooting guy, a guy who can chase wires and things like that, reflashing, reprogramming. That's a whole nother field. So I want to ask you, you've got the calibration equipment for a technician who isn't even perhaps that has that large of an electrical aptitude. They can do this work. But is Autel, like a lot of companies, trying to be the all-in-one solution where if you don't have the expertise in your shop, you can connect remotely, for example, to somebody who does? And you know, are you trying to be that all-in-one solution for shops?
Well, of course we are. We have built the remote expert platform. That platform utilizes our current diagnostic platform. And on the back side, there are a ton of qualified experts that can finish the job for them. Again, from setting up modules to reflash programming, you name it. So that is one of the nice things to have with the Autel tooling, is that capability. And we also understand not everybody can afford each OEM tool, but you may need certain OEMs just to finish the job. That's where the remote expert program really comes into play, in my opinion.
Let's talk about your latest, greatest piece of calibration equipment. Feel free to tell me what that is. I think you mentioned it earlier, but tell me a little bit more about this, your newest technology.
Yeah, the IA 900 is an optical system. What that means, it uses cameras and targets that are on the wheels of the vehicle. It starts with diagnostics and it ends with diagnostics, but the alignment piece is such a crucial piece of this whole equation that we've been able to incorporate all those things into one unit and make it a seamless experience for the technician. So literally, we walk through a pre-scan, and then we walk through the alignment process, the digital vehicle inspection process. And finally an ADAS calibration, and then a post scan, right? So we've incorporated all that workflow into easy to use instructions, and then we validate everything into the post scan. So one of the biggest things that we see is in the real world, there is no perfect floor, although it is, recommended and required by the OEMs. We want to be able to have equipment that can adjust, and the optical system will adjust to a slightly unlevel floor. But it also validates all the positioning, so being the height and the distance is only one part of the equation. So if you're using a manual setup process, you better make sure your floor is perfectly level. Your stand should be perfectly level. Your car should be perfectly level. On an optical system, we can control that, and we can ensure that the target is in the perfect location each and every time, and then validate it in the report. So to me, that is exceeding the OEM expectation. Not only do we ensure that the targets are the correct size, but they're always going to be in the proper position, and we're always going to show our work. So to me, that's the most perfect repair.
You mentioned alignments. Tell our watchers and listeners why alignments and calibrations are like peanut butter and jelly now.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thrust angle, if you've ever driven down the road and you've seen the rear of a car actually dogleg, actually be kind of to the side of the front of the vehicle as it's driving straight down the road, then you've got an alignment issue, right? So if that rear end of that vehicle is off even 0.2 degrees, it is going to put a substantial distance change in that forward camera. So it's going to be looking either to the left or to the right and not centered down the highway. So it's a crucial step. Almost every OEM is either recommending it or requiring it. And again, it's just part of our whole process that we do each and every day. And I think that's why most customers really enjoy the Autel tooling.
I think a lot of body shops are confused as to what equipment they need to do this work. They're also confused about OEM versus aftermarket. There seems like there's a lot of options in the marketplace, and it seems also that one tool will not magically do all the work. They're going to need several different types of tools. Can you clear up the confusion at all?
Yeah, I'll do my best. For this past year, we've really spent a lot of time actually addressing that customer buying journey that you're referring to. And we broke it out by the different customer segments, because what a collision shop needs versus what a general repair shop needs versus what a glass shop or even a dealership, their needs are all a little bit different. And the tooling could be different. And so what we've done is, if you go and research on our website, we actually walk through those customer segments with each customer and help give them the right information to make a good buying decision. Also, you can reach out directly to us. We'll help you through, making a recommendation based on what your needs are in your shop. And then where do you want to go? That's the whole key. Where are you at today, and where do you want to go in the future? So I think that's a big deal. And then in regard to the OEM versus aftermarket, we spent a ton amount of time on really product development. Again, making sure the targets are the right size, the right color, the right shapes, all that. You'll see on the OEM side, potentially where you print out a target. Well, the risk there is it the right size after you print it? Is it the right color, the right shade? Do you put it in the right position after you've printed that target? So I think there's a lot of risk on that side where we're trying to control those risks. We want to make sure that it's done right each and every time. And so from an OEM versus aftermarket, the OEMs, that's where it all comes from. They are the leaders. They manufacture the product. We want to do everything that our workflow should be based on the OEM procedure. We do that. And we try to enhance upon it so that your workflow is greatly increased, that you're able to get your cycle count out, because we care about that. We care about that technician experience. And as long as the outcome is positive and we can validate the repair, that's what we want. We want to make sure it's done right the first time, every time.
Stuart, you mentioned glass shops. We know that the old model of automotive glass repair and replacement is quickly becoming obsolete. Windshield replacements can no longer be done in parking lots, in your driveway, or at work. And we feel like auto body shops have a natural advantage here because they have the bricks and mortar to accommodate windshield replacement and repair now. Body shops are being encouraged to look at, if they don't do their own glass repair, to look at it now because, again, they have a natural advantage having a controlled environment within their shop. What would you say about that trend? Is that something that you agree with, that body shops should be taking a closer look at windshield repair or replacement as the glass model out there changes?
I think it's something that every shop should look at. Obviously, everybody's situation may be different. There's really good glass distributors that can distribute the glass to really any shop. It's about the setups, the procedures. If it helps your cycle time and it's part of what you can do to enhance your shop offering, I say why not? Why not go for it? It's all about, again, at the end of the day, how well the job is being put out to the end user customer. Do the systems work correctly when you're done? Does the fit and finish work? Body shops typically have that their moral compass is very high. That there's a lot of pride in what body shops do because fit and finish is what they're all about, right? So the glass just makes sense, in my opinion.
Do you think, you mentioned your equipment earlier and how it is sort of pretty easy to operate. Someone can be trained on it pretty easily. Is this new equipment that's evolving sort of solving the technician shortage as far as finding someone in the shop or outside of the shop that can do this work without necessarily being a computer expert or a programming expert or an electronics guru? Is this equipment sort of leveling the field as far as making it easier to find someone who can do this work?
Yeah, I truly believe it is. I get the opportunity to actually speak to a lot of young talent out there. Votex, we want to support them the most that we can. This is an exciting time for technicians coming into the field. If I was a younger person wanting to get into this, I would be all about the ADAS equipment and what that means for my future. I don't want to date myself, but back in the 90s when I got into this industry, there wasn't any ADAS that made sense like it does today. And it was something that I truly loved and wanted to do. The younger generation, I think, should take a look at this. I think they would really enjoy the day in and day out, being able to see the smiles on customer faces, being able to perform the work, get it in and out, and do a good job. I think it's a great thing. So it's a real exciting time for anybody that wants to get into this field.
I agree, Stuart. I'll be honest with you. I've been in shops seeing this work being done, and I've seen the equipment. If I were a young technician coming in the industry, I would want to do this work. Even now, at my advanced age, such as yourself, if I entered the industry today, I would probably gravitate toward this work. It just seems very fascinating to me, and it's cleaner type of work. I mean, you might be, you're probably going to be isolated in a room that's fairly sterile and clean and away from the welding fumes and filler dust and all that stuff. It just seems like, not that it would be any easier, it actually might be more confounding, might create more headaches for you chasing down the problems of why did this calibration fail, That's a rabbit hole that seems like a pretty deep rabbit hole people go down sometimes. But I think I would gravitate toward this work.
Oh, absolutely. Even when ADAS fails, there's that challenge of, what did I do? Because in most cases, it is a setup problem. And that's just another way of always continuously improve your skill set. So it's not that you failed. It's just, hey, now we got an opportunity to overcome it and learn from it and get better. So again, I think the ADAS category is very exciting, and looking forward over the next 10 years where this goes.
Well, Stuart, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate all of your information and insight.
No, this was great. Thanks, Jason. Anytime you want us back on, we'll be happy to come back.
I'm Jason Stahl. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this episode of Under the Radar. For more episodes, visit bodyshopbusiness.com.